You are listening to Something Rather Than Nothing. Creator and host, Ken Vellante. Editor and producer, Peter Bauer.
This is Ken Vellante with the Something Rather Than Nothing podcast. We have Hayley Lynn, a musician, artist, somebody that I've seen perform live. And before talking too much about you, Hayley, I just want to introduce you to the Art and Philosophy podcast, Something Rather Than Nothing. Great to have you on.
Happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me, Ken.
Yeah, I been doing a lot of music on the show recently, and I'm based in the Pacific Northwest. I love the music scene there. I'm particularly into some of the styles of music you do. Singer, songwriter, folk. I'm also a big Doom fan, so there's a lot of activity. I love being around in the Pacific Northwest, particularly the Portland area. And I know you've been busy with a new LP release, Horizon, in the fall. So whenever there's a release and things are going on, what have you been up to? What's been going on with your music with that release?
Yeah, so that release is my first solo project. I produced it with my wonderful friend James Villa, and it's my little baby. It's the baby that's all mine. We wrote the music together, and James produced it beautifully. And yeah, now it's the biggest thing about that is getting it to as many ears as possible. I went on tour this past summer to kind of promote the album coming out. I went on tour with Blair Borax and Karen Ann throughout the Four Corners and up through Washington and Southern California and New Mexico and Nevada. And yeah, it's been a ride. I think my favorite thing about playing all these shows and singing these songs is connecting to the audience the way that we do as artists. And, whenever a person comes up to me after a show and tells me just how a song meant to them and what it was like for them in their own journey, that's the biggest thing for me is knowing that we made that connection happen and we had that magic moment together.
Yeah, and in particular with the live performance too. And I've talked to a lot of artists and just kind of how the conveyance of emotion or what fills an area, as a concert goer or being a participant. There's different vibes of all sorts that kind of emanate from folks. And I always find it fascinating to see, how you up there and kind of reflecting back on what's going on. What was it you were talking about in this album, using particular words, like this my baby, like your hands are really in this and in your collaboration. How did it feel different for you in this one here? Or was there something else where it felt, more yours or more exactly what you wanted to do? Was that part of what was going on?
I think for this album, James and I, we wrote all the songs together. We wrote most of the songs together. A handful of them I wrote by myself, but it was a very collaborative process. James Villa is a fantastic producer to work with, as well as a friend. And I love that whenever I work with him, we always say the music is the most important part, and any way that we can convey the message of that is the best part of making a project like this. And I think the one thing I definitely wanted to do with this album was I wanted to make people dance. I wanted to make them feel. I wanted to make them rock out. I think we successfully did that with this album. It's a very wonderful collection of all my feelings and all these wonderful moments. And I even have a song that features Larissa Birdseye, which she was on your show on the track, and she was fantastic to work with. She's a wonderful friend of mine, and everything about this album I just love. There's nothing bad I could really point out when I listen through it, I just love every song on it. So I think that is a real testament to how much love and hard work we put into it. It's just when I listen back to it, all I have is love for it. So
Yeah,
I'm very
there's a
grateful for that.
strong confidence in it too, and I see that with Larissa as well. I mean,
Hmm.
it's difficult not to pick up on the confidence in saying what you want, and just so well produced, the album, and but also it it feels like, I don't know if this is the right word, and I apologize, but like accomplished. Like
Thank
these
you.
are big, like here's what I'm trying to express, and even if it's clumsy, it's that these are like ready-made fantastic song, like good sounding, and the energy that you're talking about. I was like, oh, okay. Like in listening to your music, over the last few months, um that was something that I just felt, and it was like kind of like pointing and being like, "Hey," in my head, from my age and stuff. I'm like, "That's radio, like that's right on the radio right now, like
Thank
that sound,
you.
like that type of thing." So, I really, that's really there. Now, I wanted to ask you. I know you've just in reading a bit about your background. I would refer to you as an artist, and you've concentrated on musical art and songwriting recently, but you've done other things, and you've done acting, and you've had other expressions as an artist. I wanted to ask you one of the questions I ask all guests is,
Mhm.
when did you see yourself as an artist? When were you like, what do like, this is me, this is my identity, or this is how I express myself in the world?
Great question. I'd say for me, there have been levels where I've had this realization. And I think the first one was when I was like 5. And I was like, I made one distinctive memory that I have is I made puppets. And I was a very visual person at the time. I still am. I still do a lot of visual art for my own joy and sanity.
Yep.
But I really loved making puppets. I really loved creating. Really loved working with my hands. And so I'd say when I was 5, that was when I was just like all in. Nothing held me back. And then I think another distinctive moment was when I was 8, and I was musically in my best friend my best friend's father's home studio at the time. And he had all this cool equipment. He had a mic, he had a sound booth and everything, and he was like, do you guys want to record something? And he had this track that didn't have any lyrics or music on it, and that was like the first time I ever top lined a song, was when I was
Wow.
8. And
Yeah. Yeah.
we just went for it, and we did a song called Pink Bunnies.
Of
I
course. Of
Yeah,
course.
of course. I still have that cassette tape in my little treasure box that I keep in my room. And that was like the moment that I realized I wanted to be a recording artist and musician, even though it wasn't the best voice that I've heard for myself. So
It's your cassette, though. It's your cassette.
yeah, it is my
Mhm.
cassette. That is a
Yeah.
little history of my journey and everything. So, and then I think the final moment that I really realized I wanted to be an artist, like I studied art throughout school. I was very, very lucky and very fortunate that my family knew that I wanted to be an artist very young. And so they definitely set me up in a way where I went to, I auditioned to get into ACMA, which is an arts communications Magna Academy school in Beaverton. And I got in for music.
Oh, wow.
And it was a really great school for me to kind of do whatever. I studied theater, I studied acting, I studied visual arts, I studied music, I was in choir, and that was like a great school that really brought my artistry to the forefront in every possible way. So I really flourished at that school when I was in high school. And I also went to an arts camp called Willowbrook. I was a camp counselor. I taught acting there, and I taught folk dance. And that was another wonderful place that really it helped me garner my passion for everything artistic throughout my life. So I had very wonderful parents who knew that I had to do these things in order to feel like a whole human being. So I was very, very fortunate. A lot of people don't have those opportunities like that when they're growing up, and I was very lucky. So, but the moment that I knew that I wanted to be a musician, actually, I was in school in Canada. I went to University of Victoria, and specifically with music. I mean, I was studying acting and music in my school, but I was working with some really wonderful and talented Canadian artists, when we wrote music together and we collaborated. I think the first band that I was a part of was called Spaceman Spiff, and we
Of
we
course.
didn't we didn't win. We didn't win, but we competed in like Battle of the Bands at
Yeah.
UVic, and we didn't win at all. But it was I think that moment that I'm like, okay, I really I want to just do this. I want to do
Yeah.
this. And then I moved back to Portland, and I fully pursued music. I also pursued acting, but I think it got to a point with some of the things that were kind of happening within my acting world that I decided, hey, I think I'm just having more success with music in terms of like I love being able to control every aspect of my artistry. I think having that control really gives me power, and I was fully able to do that with music. So it's been that journey ever since then. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow. Right. Like it's great to hear. And the point that you pull out is, those around us, in your case, your parents, and maybe others who are like, this is where you need to be to develop,
Yeah.
right? This is part of you. And that's, whenever I'm talking to anybody about the identity piece about, being an artist, it's, those who are around us who are important in how they view those things or encourage those, or it all has an impact. And it isn't like to blame anybody for anything, but
Hmm.
so many, I go back to the adage, with my teacher said I was smart, so I was.
Mm.
My teacher said I was an artist, and I was an artist. That there are these influential people around us, and on the positive spin, that they see what's in you and being like, this is where you need to be, and this
Yeah.
is a camp that'll be good use of your time here. And well, we reap some of those rewards, so thank you, parents, and thank
Thank you,
you,
parents.
yeah, thank you, Haley. No, I want to keep on the conceptual questions a bit, and I wanted to ask you about, art itself. And I
Hmm.
hearing you've been around different art environments, and thinking about art and how you want to create, right? Because I heard you say, with the acting thing, there might have been some constriction there. You'd be like, well, I want to express myself more fully in music. But
Hmm.
talking about art in your identity as an artist, what is art in the sense of, what is it that you're creating? What is it that you're striving for?
I think that's a great question. I know for a lot of people, art has a very different definition and a different meaning for everybody because, art is subjective. But I think for me, within my own journey, art is an outlet for my real self to shine through. I feel like it's allowed me to cope. It is a wonderful tool to express myself, or express another person's journey. When I'm writing music, I am in the mindset of writing for other people right now, and I really enjoy that. So even if it's not necessarily my journey, it's really expressing a moment in time, a story, anybody's story, maybe someone's story about their great grandfather or anything. It's about creating something in a specific moment in time, whatever time you choose, but having that be the most authentic thing that you can create within that moment based off of real feelings and emotions. At least that's how it feels for me.
Yeah.
I know it is different for everybody else, but as a songwriter or as a visual artist, like right now I'm drawing a couple of portraits, of people in my life that I care about, and people that they care about, and like those portraits are like a moment in time. They're my own expression of that person, and the joy within that person, or even like within acting. I think acting is a really wonderful summation of just that definition, because when you go see a play, if you go see you know a movie, but a play I think really captures that perfectly, because you only get to see the cast and whatever kind of mindset they're in at the time, but
Yeah,
you get to only experience that moment within the moment that you are experiencing it, versus if you were watching a movie, you're watching the same moment that was captured over and over and over again, but it has been fine-tuned, and it has been fine-tuned to the way that the director or the writer wanted
sure.
it to be. So, yeah. And I think a song does that too. You could write a song, like if you're going through a breakup, which we all go through, you're
Yeah,
capturing a feeling that you are experiencing and processing that moment. And, I think the beautiful thing about music is that you could sing the same song, but because of who you are as a person, and because of your mindset, or whatever your inner monologue or your inner narrative is, that song is going to change depending on the day, depending on who's going to sing it. If someone's going to sing a cover of your song, they're going to input their own emotions and their own feelings into that, which I think is really beautiful. So yeah, that's at least what my
yeah.
opinion is and how I feel.
Yeah, and I love your description. I want to say I had a recent conversation. It was just so interesting. You were talking about a play and also music. I was talking yesterday in an Instagram live with Kinera Ely, who's a soprano singer, and
Mm-hmm.
she was talking about the various ornamentations. I was asking, like, explain that to me, like the things that you add on top for the vocal performance that makes it yours, that expresses your personality, whether you're showy or less showy, and all these kind of nuances. And I said, the way I was trying to analogize it was to just simply say, I was like, I could understand the performance of Hamlet, right? And like,
Mm-hmm.
you think about these characters in a play and the acting performance of like, is Hamlet, is Hamlet just, lovelorn? Is Hamlet
Mm-hmm.
mad? Is
Mm-hmm.
Hamlet a prissy aristocrat? And this is insufferable. Like, which one are you playing? And it
Mm-hmm.
was such a fertile like way of talking about it. So when you mentioned it, I was just thinking about that, those individual pieces of, and in live versus recorded, where the artist makes it their own, like their art piece.
Mm-hmm.
And I think music, because it's I don't know, it's like viral nature. Music just can spread, the songs can
Yeah.
just spread,
Yeah.
that then people are singing it. And so it's just a really vibrant area and vibrant point that I've become recently fascinated with. So I had to
Mm-hmm.
jump in a bit more there. Uh, I'm sorry, were you going to say something else, Haley?
Oh no, I was just going to tag on to that, being
Yeah,
like
yeah,
I think every good artist, whether they are, if it is a play, if it is a song that they did not write, you have to really put your own emotions into it in order to not necessarily sell it. I mean, yeah, sell it, but in order for it to be authentic, you know, I
yeah.
think authenticity is the most important part of recreating someone else's work. I think that is the most beautiful thing about art, is the authenticity behind it.
Yeah. All right. Related question to what
Hmm.
is art, and anytime you answer, you kind of dip into this a bit. But what is the role of art? And it's connected. This question is, I tend to ask a couple questions, but what is the role of art? But has it changed? Like 2023, and there's these bigger problems. And is the role of art what it's been, or is there something else going on now there that might be different about the role of art?
That's a great question as well. I think in this moment in time, I'm gonna talk about what art feels like to me within this moment in time versus
Sure.
how I believe it should be.
Yeah.
Um, in this moment in time, we have AIs like creating and stealing art from visual artists. AIs creating songs that are not not bad. You know, they're some of the top songs are created by AIs now. Um, and I think in a lot of ways, I think it is scary as an artist. It's scary when when a corporation would rather promote uh, a song that was created unorganically. Um, I think that there are also wonderful things that AI has done. You know, like for example, this is something small but very helpful as a songwriter. You know, when I go onto GarageBand and I'm just hashing out a song, um, you know, I have the digital drummer that listens to everything that I inputted and creates drum beats based off of that, and it's a great way to make demos. So there are tools nowadays that we didn't have previously. Everything was organic previously, and we had organic people who had real emotions and feelings, and only those people could really recreate those things when you were tracking a song. Um, and the same thing about a visual artist. Like there are visual artists that can only do what they do, and they do it really well. But I think that in today's culture, in today's world, we are slowly devaluing art, because I think art is really valuable. It has gotten me through so much within my own life, within my own mental health journey,
Yeah.
that we really have to understand the value that music, art, theater, any kind of format that art is devoured. We really need to understand the value that it has, and I think that we've been slowly devaluing it. Now, the way that I think art should be, and I think that good art, and I'm probably saying this because I had all my teachers tell me this when I was growing up, but it makes sense, and I'm going to repeat it because it makes sense to me. But art should be a mirror of what is happening within the world, within your own worlds. And and I think a mirror is a very personal thing. I think, in the term of history, when we say art should be like a mirror up to society, but when you look into a mirror, it's a really personal experience, because you could look at another person in a mirror, you could look at yourself in the mirror, you could really see the details within yourself. And that is when you visually see who you are, at least a part of who you are. I think that, mirrors can also be deceiving, and they can also hide who you are. So when you say that art should be a mirror, I think that good art shows the internal side of what the mirror has to show you. It shows you the reality, it shows you the facts of something, but it also shows you the beautiful things as well,
Mm-hmm.
the flaws, the fine lines, the laugh lines, the eyes to yourself or to somebody else. And I think art to me, good art to me, when I connect to something, it really shows a part of who I really am, or it really shows a part of what I'm sad to see, or what I'm happy to see within the world or within myself. So that's what I ideally would want art to be. And that
Yeah.
is up for interpretation. Art is subjective. So
Well, I want to, in yours, very personal, I want to ask you about two opposing trends, and I'm going to base it off
mhm,
what you were saying about AI technology. I see two tendencies happen, which I think are fundamentally opposed,
mhm,
which are a reaction. And I think the context is this, like some of the effects of the pandemic, some of the move towards digital, maybe ephemeral culture, maybe fast moving and disappearing. But I see folks behave in a way recently where I see them with a harder drive towards the tangible physical art object. Maybe a popular example of this is like Taylor Swift's LPs outselling CDs, and like
mhm.
LPs are becoming a thing, and you see a
Yeah, they
resurgence
are.
in like VHS. Like I want to see, yeah, VHS is not the best, but I want the thing in this format. I want to play. So like I'm around folks and I see a tendency towards the grappling for the things. On the other side, it seems we read reports and there's a reality to a massive, like rich people buying fake real estate in the metaverse and fake thing, like that there's an investment of real money in a quasi world, whether it's the art, the NFTs that are in that world, or who you are have as a virtual neighbor. There's also that massive, maybe moneyed tendency. I see two like very opposite things going on. Do you think that's like? Do you think there's some relevance in like what I was saying, or is that at play and where you're saying like the AI and it's the digital and this
Oh,
type of
of
thing?
course.
Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think there's two opposing forces, not necessarily battling it out, but necessarily coming to the forefront. People want tangible things. People want nostalgia. And, the beautiful thing about a vinyl LP is that every time you listen to it, it's going to sound a little bit different because that means that like it's been played
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, a million times, and it's going to sound different because that's just how it's created. It's created to age. It's created to, have scratches in it and then skip. That's one of the beautiful things about a vinyl LP. And as somebody who loves that kind of nostalgia, I am that kind of person that I want something tangible. I feel that when I have something tangible, it has that sense of nostalgia that is comforting to me. So I definitely see that in my friends. I see it in online. I see these things, and I completely love and agree that something tangible is more meaningful than something that you would listen to maybe like or stream on a platform. I think the accessibility of streaming sites makes it so music is more accessible to the world. But I think an actual tangible object has meaning behind it. And then you have these these wonderful folks who, live in a virtual reality, who live with their minds through the internet. And, there's, I think that any way that we kind of divide ourselves from anything that is organic or anything that is real is another step away from being a human. No, I don't mean to say that in a way that takes away the comfort that these digital worlds give to people, because I think, in some ways, like thinking about my friend, like they play video games online with their friends that live in Canada, and it's like one of the best ways that they can connect and talk and connect. And I think that's also fantastic that they can connect that way. We have these to be able to have ways that we can talk to people
Oh, absolutely.
halfway around the world, I think
Yep.
is great. But I think, investing like $1 million or like $5 million or whatever amount of money into a world that's not real, I think that could have been money that could have helped a lot of people. I think that could have been money that could have actually benefited the communities around us. And, I think that within these two different worlds, we definitely see the classes and the separation between that. So
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
is definitely a thing.
It's like the rich are either going off to space or the metaverse. Like they're making their plans for space or the metaverse or both. So,
Yeah.
but
Like I
that's
think there's
yeah.
even this one show, I forget what it's called, but oh sorry. But I forget what this show's called, but it's basically about like this world that is like a digital world where if you pass away, if you're not alive anymore, you can have your digital soul live in this digital world, and anything can happen. You can
What's
experience all those
it's gonna
things.
do? It's like I'd be starting out and be like, that thing's gonna misbehave in the future. It's gonna have my name attached to it, and like I want to check and see if it's behaving properly. It sounds horrible. Sounds like a nightmare. Maybe I'm unsettled with myself, but I imagine a lot of people would have that.
Yeah, it sounds like, I mean, it is an episode of Black Mirror, basically. Like, they have
Oh, of
episodes
course.
of that.
Of course. For some
Yeah.
reason, I knew, like, once you mentioned some of that, I was like, I think this is getting right at Black Mirror and
It
what's going on with that, which is a fascinating discussion unto itself.
Mhm.
Haley, we got to cut to a song because, like, every
Mhm.
time I'm going to use a song and I'm talking to an artist, we end up talking, and it's not like, you know, the conversation isn't vital and profound, but I do realize all the time that we're making people wait for a song. So
Yeah.
we got the song Danny DeVito, which in general I think America's favorite or somewhere up there. But tell us a little bit about it, and we'll play it for folks.
Oh my gosh, I love this song. It brings me joy, and you know, when I wrote this song, I wrote this song originally back in 2019, and I was going through it. My parents were getting divorced, and you know, you think when you're older you could handle something like that, but you know, it really kind of shook
Yeah.
me. And one of the things that I did to kind of cope with that is I literally binge watched every Danny DeVito movie and show I could think of, and that literally brought me life again. So I needed to write a song, not necessarily about him, but like I just wanted to write a song being like, I honor you. You got me through the thick of it, and now I want to write a song that if anybody needs a good pick me up, if anybody needs anything, they think of you. And so
love it.
Yeah.
That's so cool. We're gonna play Danny DeVito if I ever do a song, Haley. And this, what does it say about me? It's gonna be Pee Wee Herman. So I something along the lines of Pee Wee Herman. It'll definitely sound separate or be vaudeville or something. Hey everybody, we got Danny DeVito by Hayley Lynn. Check it out. Here we go.
I'm walking tiptoe past your ego incognito, rocking tuxedos down in Oswego where we go. And I said I'll never give you another glance, but here we are. Seeing you twisted in the backseat of my car. So let's Danny DeVito. Are you ready or not? I know you got the libido. Dance until we drop. You keep it short and sweet, but your temper's got a hold of me. You bring me to my knees, no end to the possibilities.
Danny DeVito.
Yeah.
Love that. Well, my last name's Volante. I'm required to adore Danny DeVito. So, right? Forget about it. Hey, you can dance too, Hayley Lynn. You need to add that in your art too.
I do.
Jeez.
I do. I grew up with a dancing family. My sister majored in dance in school, and then turned out to be working corporate for Adidas. So, heck yeah, boss sister.
My Adidas.
Why Adidas?
Run DMC.
I don't
know.
Yeah. But yeah, she choreographed the Danny DeVito dance in that music video, as well as she was also one of the dancers in my Do For You music video, and she choreographed the dance for All My Friends as well. So she gets to live her dance degree through my work, which brings me a lot of joy. I love working with my sister.
I love that. I love that connection. Yeah. I think dancing is a great activity. You can't get enough time to do it. Although there's a New Year's Eve show with Diggable Planets in Carmen Rivera at the Crystal Ballroom in Portland this year. So I was like, that was a good way to bring in
Awesome.
the new year with the jazz funk, hip hop. So
yeah.
So with you, and your videos are cool too. So I mean, hearing a little bit more about working with your sister and bringing in the whole performance. Like I said, it's like they're ready. Like everything's ready right there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really like that. Okay, the big conceptual question, and you got into it a little bit there, and it's like basically the nature of the universe, or like why God exists, or why we create, or any of those things. Why is there something rather than nothing, Hayley Lynn? I think you're like bumping up against it with all your other answers.
Yeah, I think there has to be something. I think there has to be something, and I if we're talking about God, if we're talking about like the big old question, I mean, I don't know if I'm going to be pretty open and honest. I'm agnostic. I don't know. I got a big old question mark above my head. I think that there has to be something. I think we've just like, because of the nature of what art is, I think also the nature of humans as a species, I think we've created so much that I feel like there has to be something.
Yeah.
Because if there's nothing, then why are we existing?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's like, I mean, in philosophy, it's like, it might seem strange, but I think it comes down is something like this: the study of thingness, how things be, like, and what they are. And I love the question in the context of creativity and human creativity. But yeah, and the big question, myself, I'm agnostic. I don't know, not too smart to know, not smart enough to know it all.
Yeah.
So there's a certain human humbleness into it. But I think a lot of times folks who are agnostic too, at least for me, I kind of walk around politically as an atheist, because I don't necessarily need to engage in that question all the time. And people say, well, you do a whole podcast with the question something rather than nothing, so you're inviting your own trouble. Understood. But no, it's like politically sometimes it's like, I don't necessarily want to get into that whole positioning. I'm a doubter.
Yeah.
My spirituality is
I agree.
a combination of things, and I'm me, so.
Yeah, I am in the same boat as you. I think that, like, I definitely I definitely believe in freedom for anybody to, to do what they must, as long as it doesn't hurt anybody. I'm all for that. But like I'm just in this boat where, like we can create so many things. We can manifest things into existence, and that's the one thing I love about, like, this idea that you can, if you can imagine it, and if you can dream it, you can invent it. That's how we got electricity. That's how we had all these innovations in terms of health, in terms of science and everything like that. in art. I think art is a direct tide. If you can visually, or if you can hear it, you can manifest it and you can create it.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think like the whole, oh, sorry, continue.
No, I'm sorry to jump in, but I think that there's something about the idiosyncrasy or where pieces of art stick out, or certain things that stick out that lead to that, like where they're noticeable. They inflect a certain change of thinking. There's a disruption of things. I feel that sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
All right, Hayley, where do we find all your stuff, all your music?
Wonderful.
Where does everybody find it? In the videos, folks. Like I said, she can dance.
Yeah, I can try
You
to
put it
dance.
out there. It's out there. It's on YouTube.
It is out there. I did the thing. You can find me on really every social media platform. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on TikTok. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on YouTube. A lot of my videos are on YouTube. But yeah, just spell my name correctly. It's Hayley, Lynn, Lynn, and then slip in music somewhere, and you'll find me. I'll pop up somewhere. I'll be one of the first things that pops up. So yeah, just make sure you spell it correctly, because there are a lot of Hayley Lynns out there. That was a very popular name in the 90s.
Oh.
So just make sure you spell it right. But yeah.
Absolutely. And just so you know, folks, have a track going out from this episode, Not There. Hayley, you want to mention a couple things about the Not There track that takes us out?
Yeah, so I love this song. This song is like my emo like song that fills the void inside myself every time I listen to it, or whenever I have a void that needs filling, I listen to this song. And I know it kind of sounds conceited listening to your own music, but I really like this song. I love the way it turned out.
Yeah.
But this song, to me, it changes depending on the day, and I think that's the one thing I love about this song, is that whatever kind of mind state I'm in, the meaning of this song changes for me. And when I was writing it, it can be about not feeling present within your body, not feeling connected to anybody, feeling isolated, or not wanting to be connected to anybody. Or it could be, not feeling connected in any kind of relationship you're in, whether it's a friendship or, a partnership, or like with your family. It's basically a song that encaptures not feeling present in the world that you are in. And, the feelings that kind of come with that, it's the feeling of isolation. Like the second verse, it's like, I'm not an ocean or a river you can cross. My water's muddy and the waves are sharp. The tides are deep and nothing's living there. A shallow beach where no one should come near, and I'll be there. And that's kind of where I was when I wrote that song. At least in the mindset. And, and then the bridge, just like, it's so easy to leave here. It is so easy. Sometimes it's easy. Sometimes it's really hard, but you can make those connections. You can reach out. It's just a matter of reaching out. And, for anybody who is struggling in any way, this song, I hope, makes you not feel alone in whatever you're going through.
Yeah, there's a lot of space there, and I really appreciate you saying this. And I say that like in the context of we're recording in January, and I talk to folks, like I want to, like with art, and recognizing some, like, I don't know whether they're difficult patches or times. I mean, some people might experience with some grayness, or the rain, or after the end of the year, all these different. But one of the things I look and said to recognize that those are some of the major dynamics that I experience cyclically in the world, but at the same time to try to, with art, like make myself less lonely during those experiences, but also in creating things. If I have any doubts, at least for this month where things tend to be difficult, I just charge ahead. I'm just like, don't exist in doubt, just charge ahead, and you think about it differently later. So there's something about connecting with the feeling of being in that spot, and knowing you can be there for a bit, but also, like you said, to be like, yeah, I've been there before, but what I can say is you can exist here, and the main thing, it's not permanent, right? It's like I'm here. It's a scary place, and it could be a deeply scary place, but it's like it's not a permanent residence, I think. So, woo, right? Hayley, it's been a great pleasure to talk to you, and also connecting the show to other artists, Blair Borax, who I saw you play live with, Larissa Birdseye, wonderful singer and collaborator with you, Matt Brewster, who works and plays with Larissa and other bands. Just just an incredible way to connect folks.
I'm not a rock, a boulder you can stand on. My feet are weak and made to run away. The promises I keep burn into my skin, and all my I'm not an ocean, a river you can cross. My water's muddy, and the waves are sharp. The tides are deep, and nothing's living there. A shallow I'll be there. I'll be there. I'll be there. I'll be there.
This is Something Rather Than Nothing,